welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me here on the Reverse Book Club. We're going to get started with Jeb Blunt's Fanatical Prospecting. So I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty here, so I can't actually see anything on my Zoom screen. So I will be looking up at my other screen so I can follow along. So know that I'm right here with you and paying attention. Just have to use a different screen. So can everybody hear me well? Excellent, excellent. I see the thumbs up. Thank you for that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. As a show of hands, how many people actually have read Fanatical Prospecting or know about it? Anyone? Anyone? All right. Okay, so essentially, this is a really timely book for right now as we go into a shifting market. And as Gary Keller says, moving into a skills-based market. And this is the skill that you need for a skills-based market. As we move into this, Fanatical Prospecting is, the baseline of the millionaire real estate agent. It's essentially be prospecting based and marketing enhanced. So in order to have that foundation of prospecting, we need to know how to do it at a very high level. And, we may have been doing it in the past, and a lot of people have been riding the wave of the market these last few years and haven't had to do as much of it as we have in the past. So this is a great book to kind of come back to the basics and get started again on Fanatical Prospecting. So can everyone see the Zoom screen where it says Fanatical Prospecting, Jeb Blunt? Again, I can't see it, so I want to make sure everyone else can. All right, so here we go. Who here, let's put it in the chat box. When you hear fanatical, what do you think of? What words come to mind when you think fanatical? Okay, crazy, aggressive, nonstop, right? Anyone else? There we go. Intense. Okay. Passionate. Yes. All excellent answers. And there's a definition that they give in the book, and the definition of fanatical is motivated or characterized by an extreme uncritical enthusiasm. So Raquel Smith came close with enthusiastic and intense and nonstop. All of those are great answers, because that's what fanatical is. It's being committed to something. It's the difference between being interested in prospecting and being committed to prospecting. So, they say the mantra of a fanatical prospector is one more call. And that's essentially, the tie down to this book is one more call. When you're done for the day, one more call, one more, always being after getting that next lead, that next connection. And that's what a fanatical prospector is. So they break it down and say, what separates the superstars from everyone else? Why is it that there are 1.5 million real estate agents in the US right now, and only 800,000 of them haven't sold a home this year? I mean, that's a huge number. So there are that many real estate agents, and how come only some are actually doing the business? So when you look at what the difference between a superstar and regular salespeople, and I say regular because I mean everyone else that is the 80% versus the 20%. Your superstars are your 20%. They're doing 80% of the business. And so they are relentless. They're unstoppable prospectors. Those are the people that don't make excuses. They don't say, oh, this isn't a good time to call, or, they might be at lunch, or they don't complain that nobody's calling me back. They don't say leads are bad. A lot of times, myself included, we get caught in these traps of, having reasons as to why we're not seeing results. Oh, the market is bad. Oh, things are changing. And the difference is they're obsessive about keeping their pipeline full. And let's really think about that word obsessive. When you hear obsessive, what do you think of? And I want this to be interactive, so please feel free to take yourself off mute. I want to talk to you all and make this an interactive thing, because I want hyper focus. Yeah, relentlessly focused, thinking about something 24/7. That is obsessive. That's right. And it's a anywhere and anytime attitude. There are no excuses. We talk about, in bold, they talk about that if you were on a balance beam and I were to give you $100 to walk across the balance beam that was sitting on the floor, how many in the room would do it for $100? Just walk, right? And if I were to raise it 5 feet up and say, I'll give you $1,000, how many people would do it? Okay, $1,000. Now say I put it up on a 24-story building and put it across the span of the building to building in open air with no supports and nothing there, and said, I'll give you $1 million to walk across it. Right. So the key to this, though, is the why. So say I put something or someone you love on that other building, and the building's on fire, and the only way to save that thing is to walk across that beam, and you don't get any money. Would you go across it then? Right. Because the switch cost of the pain versus the pleasure. And so when we look at obsessive, we have to think about what it is, what our why is that's pushing us, because these people, the superstars, they have something pushing them to achieve their goals. Because if you don't have that, all those excuses that we just talked about are going to get in your way. You're going to procrastinate. You're going to, have paralysis by analysis. You're going to come up with reasons why you can't do the thing that you're going to do unless you're obsessed, unless you're committed. And that's the number one, and they say in here, the number one reason for failure in sales is an empty pipeline, which stems from a failure to prospect. So just like in bold, just like in life, there are only 3 things you can control. Who knows what those 3 things are? And a hint, it's on the screen. So your actions and your mindset. And I'm gonna say reactions too. That's in the book. I know in bold we take it down to actions and mindsets. We break it down to 2 things. So because reactions are just actions that are responses to something. So when you say, what can I control, and focus on that, it changes the way you view the world, and it changes how you look at things to say, I'm only going to focus on the things that I can control. Everything else is out of my control, and I won't. I got to say, I'm a pet person, so I love the animals in the screen. So yeah, love the cats and the dogs. This is great. So, the book says, don't wish for things to get easier. Wish for you to get better. So what is it that's getting you better? And I'll give you a hint, being on these calls, going to the trainings. KW offers a lot for people to get better, and especially KWGM. I was talking about that last night, how much this office pours into its agents. So just, take advantage of it and really go out there and get better. So the book says there are 7 mindsets of a fanatical prospector. The first is to be optimistic and enthusiastic. Now, that's a big one, because if I called up and I was prospecting, I said, hey, I really want to sell your house. I think I can do it. Do you maybe want to meet tomorrow at 3 by chance? How many of you would set that appointment with me? None of you. Now, that's where practice comes in. Practicing and being optimistic. And, just like Mo says, if you act enthusiastic, you will be enthusiastic. So act enthusiastic. When you talk to people, be passionate about what you do. You are real estate professionals. So be passionate about it. Know your craft. Know what you're talking about. You are the professional, and they want to learn from you. They want to know. How many of you in regular conversations do people ask you things like, hey, what's the market doing? What's going on in real estate right now? How many times a week do you get asked that question? And if you're not getting asked that question, then it means you're not having real estate conversations and you're not prospecting. So we need to go back to that prospecting. So that's number one, optimism and enthusiasm. And number two is the mindset of a fanatical prospector is competitive. And it's not necessarily about being in competition with anyone else. When I have 5 children, and when I talk to my kids, I tell them all the time, it's never a race or a competition between you and someone else. It's always a race and a competition with yourself. It's about being better than you were yesterday, being better than you were this morning. It's always a competition with you. And as long as you view it that way, you're always succeeding, because you're always competing with just yourself and making it about you being better than you were. So being competitive, being confident, just like that example I gave you earlier, part of the reason why you didn't set an appointment with me was I wasn't confident. I didn't call you and say, I know what's going on in the market right now, and I feel like we would be better served to sit down and talk about how I can best serve you in the coming months as the market shifts. Let's talk about what's happening with your financial portfolio, and sit down maybe tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I know I have some appointments, but I can move some around to get you in there. Would that work for you? See, the difference is the confidence I had there versus, well, maybe, kind of, sort of, I wish. So being confident, that's another mindset. Relentless. It is what it is. Nothing's going to stop you. If you are relentless, and I talk about this with my team, if I were to if you knew that getting 100 appointments would save the life of someone you love, and I told you only had a month to do it, you would be relentless. You would be out there day and night. You would be obsessive. Just like it said earlier, 24/7. You wouldn't sleep. You would go for it with all you had. And the difference is there's nothing putting that on the person you love now. But at the same time, when you don't set that appointment, when you don't sit down and do your prospecting, I had a coach once tell me, when you don't do that, I want you to call someone you love and tell them that you didn't care enough about them today. Yeah, they told me, call your wife, call your kids, and say, I didn't do my job and I didn't help pay for your future because I got lazy today, or I didn't feel like it, or I didn't want to do it. You talk about accountability. Having to do that, having to say to someone you love that I didn't care enough about your future today because of what I wanted right now. So number 5, being thirsty for knowledge, and exactly why you're all here today. Thirsty for knowledge, thirsty for learning. Always be learning based. We talk about this in the 6 personal perspectives. That's number 4 in the 6 personal perspectives, being learning based. So that's definitely part of it. Always knowing what's happening, because is the market the same as it was 6 months ago? Is it going to be the same in the next 6 months as it is right now? It's always changing, right? Who knows? It's always changing. And the thing is you have to be able to know what's happening and be learning constantly in order to stay abreast of what's going on in the market and be able to be the professional that you are. Number 6, systematic and efficient. Just like we talk about in the trainings at KW, we have systems and models. And that is how you become systematic and efficient, because is what you're doing scalable? Is it repeatable? Can you do it over and over again? And if you were to build a team or get up to the 7th level, can you hand it off to someone and know that it's going to be done correctly, step by step, the right way that you want it done? So systems and models make you systematic and efficient. And that's what you want. You want to be efficient because you want to use less time to make more money. Next is be adaptive and flexible. We've proven, anybody who has been in the business since, before 2020, proved through that pandemic that we were adaptive and flexible. I mean, look at us now. How many of us use Zoom on a regular basis prior to 2020? Right. No, nobody. So, or very few. So, that's being adaptable. That's figuring out ways to keep moving forward with what's happening in the world. So when we talk about prospecting, the number one tool this book talks about is the phone. And it's how I built my business, and it's where, I kind of took off. And cold calling, as the screen says, is interrupting. Know that when you call someone, you're interrupting their day. They weren't expecting a call from you. They're getting a call from you. And if you want to succeed, you have to be okay with interrupting your prospects. You have to let go of, I don't want to bother them. I don't think they want to hear from me. Those are all reasons, and it'll never get you the results that you're looking for. So, the thing is, you look at what mindsets are most important to you. And that's what it is. It's getting past the fear of the phone. So balanced prospecting is using multiple prospecting avenues. And when we talk about that, right now we've got tons of them. And I know just by being an agent, you get people calling you every day. Hey, I've got this shiny new thing. Hey, I've got this thing. We're a referral-based business out of California and looking for agents in your area, or anything like that. But again, that's not necessarily prospecting. Prospecting is you getting on the phone, getting in your emails, sending out messages on social media. That's still you doing prospecting. All that other stuff is marketing. When you give away that to someone else and pay someone else to do it for you, you're no longer prospecting. You're marketing, and you're paying for it. And as we move into the shifting market, that's going to be harder and harder to kind of maintain. Lead with revenue. So the foundation of a winning prospecting strategy is balance. So the book goes over 3 laws of prospecting. The first is the universal law of need. And it's on the screen, but would anyone care to share what they know about that or their experience in that? You can read it over on the left. Feel free to unmute yourself. I can wait.
I used to work with a woman at Ryan Homes who used to talk about commission breath. Mm-hmm. And it is when you haven't sold anything in a while, and you just can't even control how desperate you are, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the universal law of need. And the thing is, it's kind of a cycle, and it repeats itself, because as you become more needy, you get more emotional, you get more out of focus, and things start to happen that shouldn't happen. You may put deals through that shouldn't go through. You may do things that aren't in the best interest of your client just to make sure that you get paid. So the universal law of need, and that law only comes up when you're not doing prospecting. If you're doing prospecting, that never actually happens. Then there's the 30-day rule. Now, I know we talk about it as, they do say the next 90 days. So prospecting done in this 30-day period will pay off for the next 90 days. So the way you look at the 30-day rule is you look at your pipeline right now. You look at what's under contract. You look at what's happening right now. And then you go back 30, 60, 90 days and say, what was I doing then? Because just like right now, we're in January. So what we're doing right now is our business in January. So if we're not prospecting now, we're going to have a slow start to the year. And so the 30-day rule says, look back 30 days. What were you doing? Were you prospecting, or were you busy in the business? Going to, the inspections and doing the things and not prospecting, because that's the 30-day rule. And then there's the law of replacement. So they give an example here. Becky has 30 prospects in her pipeline. Her closing percentage is 10%. She closes one deal. How many prospects remain in her pipeline? Who can give me that answer? Start putting them in the chat box. So again, 30 prospects in her pipeline. Her closing percentage is 10%. She closes one deal. How many prospects remain in her pipeline? I know we're all agents and we hate math, and we should. So how many remain in her pipeline? She closed one deal with a closing percentage of 10%. All right, we got 27 from John. 2, okay, 27. Okay. Anyone else? Final answers? Final answers? All right, well, we'll go with what we have, 10. All right, excellent, Jade. Okay, the real answer is 20. So here's the math. If Becky has 1 in 10 probability of closing a deal, that means on average, she'll only close one deal out of 10 prospects. So that she puts in her pipeline. So the net result is when she closes one deal, the other 9 are no longer viable prospects because she averages 1 out of 10. So this means that her pipeline will be reduced by 10 prospects rather than 1. So she now has to replace the 10 prospects to keep her pipeline full. So when you think about, and that's why knowing your numbers is so important. Because when you think about, if you know your ratios, you know how many people you have to put back in your pipeline to fill it. So, if you have a 70% closing ratio, that number looks different than Becky's at a 10%. So you would have less people that put back in your pipeline. But know that it's the full percentage of what the 10%, because she closed 1 out of that 10. So the other 9 are no longer viable because that's her closing ratio. So she has to get 10 new ones to replace those in order to keep the pipeline where it is. Does that make sense? Does everyone kind of follow that math? Okay, great. So the book goes on to talk about the 3 P's that are holding you back: procrastination, perfectionism, and paralysis from analysis. So procrastination, I'm a guilty one of this myself. I find every reason not to start something. I'll start looking at Facebook. I'll start, going through my email, and, it's a mental thing of, grit to make myself start every day. And I start. And so procrastination is the thing that stops most people on, they say, when's the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 20 years ago. And the next best time is right now. So, if you want to, get things done, start. And that's just it. Take that first step. Say, I tell myself, okay, make one phone call. Not sit down for 3 hours, not anything else, just make one phone call. And I find after I make the first phone call, the second phone call is easier. And then I just keep going. So it's all, I only look at the thing that's right in front of me. So that's what helps me with procrastination. I don't know, does anyone else have a trick or a tool that they use to kind of get over that hump that they would be willing to share?
I always find that building the list or knowing like exactly who I'm going to call and when, but doing it the night before, right? Because getting on the phone, easiest way to procrastinate is to think about who I'm going to call, right? And if I just have a list of 5 people, I can make those 5 calls and then, get the next list of 5 people.
That's great. Yeah, I do a very similar thing. I have my my admin write my list up before call time. So either the night before or first thing in the morning, I get an email with everyone I have to talk to that day. So, that's just like you said, having that list helps me a lot, because then again, I can say, I just need to call this one person and then the next, and it gets me going. So that's great. Thank you, Michael. So the 4 objectives, well, let's go to perfectionism. I was an art person in a past life. So art major, graduated with a degree in art, and perfectionism was definitely a thorn in my side, wanting everything to be just so. So, that's something that, as agents, we want it to be just right. We like control. So perfectionism stops a lot of people as well. It's, I was told a long time ago, if it's worth doing, then it's worth doing poorly. So, and that, that really stuck with me. It's like, if it's worth doing, then just start doing it. Even if you're terrible at it, and eventually over time you will get better. And that's what happens. If it's worth doing, then it's worth doing poorly. And how many would agree that lead generation is worth doing? And if you didn't raise your hand, then we might be in the wrong business, because sales is lead generation. There's no second thing beyond that. That is the name of the game. If you do not lead generate, you do not make money. So the last one is paralysis from analysis. And just like, Michael was saying, we can sit there and say, who am I supposed to call? What am I supposed to say? We plan to plan and prepare and don't actually do anything. So unless you're doing it, then you're not making money. You're just sitting around planning and preparing. And paralysis from analysis is also procrastination. So those are the three P's that the book says are holding you back. Now, there are 4 objectives from prospecting. Can I get a volunteer to read the 4 objectives?
I'll read it. Okay. Set an appointment, number 1. 2, gather information and qualify. 3, close a sale. 4, build familiarity. Okay.
And John, thank you, John. And when it says gather information and qualify, close a sale, and build familiarity, so these are from prospecting. Would you say which in your prospecting, when you talk to clients, is this the right order for you? Because it's not the right order for everyone. So what order would you put these in?
These 4, out of these 4, which order would I put them in?
When you're on a call, yeah.
Okay, so if I had to say build familiarity, number 1 would be gather information and qualify.
Okay.
Then set an appointment. And once I have the appointment or meeting with them, that's when I'm building my familiarity. And then number 4 would be close the sale.
And I think that holds true to a lot of people on this call. I would put it in virtually the same order. So thank you, John. So yeah, those are the 4 objectives from prospecting. And the thing is the number one objective for prospecting when you're on the phone is number 1. You know, you want to gather information and qualify before you set the appointment. That's important because you don't want to go on unqualified appointments because then you're just wasting time. So that's the first thing you do. And the goal is to set that appointment. So that's always the number 1 goal in prospecting, is to get in front of them and then build familiarity and then close the sale. So thank you, John. So just like John knew his plan, John knew how to set that order. If you do not have a plan and you do not know your objectives, your prospecting blocks will be far less effective. So Michael brought up something earlier. He has a list of people he calls every day. And the book goes over how superstar salespeople build out a prospecting pyramid. So there's the bottom of the pyramid, prospects you know little or nothing about. So we wouldn't want to start calling them right away. They're not high priority. The second level of the pyramid is you have solid contact information, personal line, their email, that kind of thing. And same thing, they're one step above people you know nothing about. Then there's the third level of the pyramid. You know, they potentially have a buying window somewhere in the near future. You have complete contact records and who the decision makers are. And then as you go up the pyramid, you get a more targeted list of the largest opportunities in your territory. And then the 5th level are hot inbound leads and referrals. So these are the ones that you want to call first. So the top salespeople organize their day by starting the day by saying, who should I call that I will get business from? Where am I going to find business today? And so they curate their list and make sure that they're calling high value prospects first, and then they work their way down that list. So they finish with bringing people into the pipeline at the bottom, getting their information, qualifying them, things like that. But they started with the people that they need to talk to first. Because if you call the bottom people first and say you called 100 people and got nothing from it, when you could have called 5 and gotten 2 appointments. So you want to start with the 5 and then work down. And they say the key to success with the prospecting pyramid philosophy is a consistent daily focus on gathering qualifying information that identifies buying windows, stakeholders, and moves prospects up the pyramid. So that's the goal for the bottom, is you want to move them up that pyramid, and you always want to start from the top and work your way down. Because it's just like the big rocks analogy. You don't want to fill the glass with, water first or sand, because you'll never get your big rocks in there. And the people at the top of your pyramid are your big rocks. Does that make sense for everyone? Are we following? Any questions so far? I like that, John. I didn't see your message. I learned that you don't have to be great to get started, and you do have to get started to be great. That is very true. Very true. So next is owning your database. Now, I know we have Command. Not everyone uses Command. Some people use a different CRM, but it is the most important tool in your toolbox. And as we talk about TCP, and if you've heard any of the communication from top down in Keller Williams, you also know that database is the most important thing. I don't know the numbers. Michael may be able to help me. I forget the actual numbers. How many people were referrals were driven from database last year based on NAR? Do you remember that stat, Michael?
Yeah, I think it was in the high 60s for buyers and the low 70s from sellers.
That's what I thought. Okay. So think about that. 60 to 70% of your business could be sitting in your database right now. So if you are not contacting your database, how much money are you leaving sitting inside your CRM. So by being organized and making sure that you own your database, that no one else can go in and get clients out of your database, that I can't call, anybody, Allison's database and steal her clients because she's taking care of them at such a high level, and that's what you need to be doing with your database. So it's the piece of your pipeline that will help you the most. Let me get over my other screen. It's so hard not being able to see it, what I'm doing in here. So next, they talk about the law of familiarity. And the more familiar a prospect is with you or your company, the more likely they will be to accept and return your calls, emails, social media connections, etc. So, they want to do business because they like you. And that's going to be the gist of why you get business and why you get referrals, is because the people there that you're communicating with, they come to know you, they come to like you, and you become their real estate agent. Because like Gary Keller says, we're in the relationship business until they need a real estate agent, and then we're in the real estate business. So we want to build those relationships first. And, according to the book, it can take between 20 to 50 touches to engage a prospect with little to no familiarity with your company. Think about that, 20 to 50 touches. How many people actually contact people that many times? And that's why, when they say fortune is in the follow-up, the average agent, I think it drops I don't have the stats right off the top of my head, but the average agent will only call back 2 to 3 times. They'll only reach back out 2 to 3 times. So if it needs 20 to 50, then they've lost, they had the opportunity and they lost it because they stopped following up. And then if it's a warm lead, it's 1 to 10. So again, even a warm lead, if they only call back 2 to 3 times, they only have to reach out 7 more times maybe to get the business, and they don't. So many deals are left out there because we just don't follow up. And again, that's what the fanatical prospecting is about. It's about, how do you get your prospects more familiar with you and your way of doing business? And whether that's emails, whether that's texts, whether that's, social media, it's a matter of staying engaged with them long enough for them to understand, the saying, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that's where we have to come in. We have to come in from care, come from contribution, come from care. And then that's when the business flows. Social selling. So this is where I kind of disagree with the book, actually. The book goes, kind of downplays social selling. We know that it's actually doing a lot these days. Social selling is working. So, they say people don't want to be pitched or sold to on social media. They prefer to connect and interact, go to where your prospects hang out. I disagree. I think that people are more accepting of social selling now. It's definitely become more acceptable. People are getting a lot of return off of Facebook ads and things like that. So I would say continue. It's definitely another lever to use in your business. So if social selling is something that you do, keep at it. If it's working for you, then use it. Phrases that can close the door. So if you talk about, I want to talk to you about my product, I want to show you, I want to tell, talk, show, and tell. It's all about I. If you're telling them, and people don't care. People don't care what you know. People don't care what your business did. People don't care how many properties you sold. They want to know what's in it for them. Everybody listens to the same radio station, WIFM, what's in it for me radio. So that's what they want to hear. They want to hear the phrases and emotional words that can open the doors to them to say, I want to learn more about you and your business, or I want to learn more about your home and the things that you really enjoy about it. Or I'd like to share some insights that have helped my other clients sell faster and get more money for their properties. You know, I'm looking to gain an understanding of your situation to see if we would make a good fit. See, the difference there is you're coming from a place of, I want to share with you. I want to, you know, it's inclusive, and it's not you telling them. It's not you showing them. It's building a bridge. And that's what we're doing here. We're building a bridge to give them a reason to want to spend time with you, because otherwise they don't. You've already taken their time on the phone. Now you have to give them a reason to want to spend more time with you. And that's what the bridge is for. Give them some insight, some value, and then they will allow you to take up more of their time to allow you to show them what you can do for them and how you can help them. So your message. So a prospecting message is designed for one purpose: to quickly persuade your prospect to give you their time. So we just talked about this. They can sense fear and weakness. They can sense your commission breath. So you want to exude confidence and enthusiasm. You want, you know, they're the two most powerful and persuasive nonverbal messages you send to prospects. So just like we talked about the what's in it for me, it's the most important question on your prospect's mind. So you want to have a message that is value to them. And then it's about getting what you want. You got to ask. So show of hands, how many people have asked for a referral in the last week? Okay. How many people have asked for a referral in the last month? And that's actually really great. I saw a bunch of hands. So of the ones who had their hands down, how many have asked for a referral in the last year? So I always held that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if you don't ask, you don't get. You know, I think it was Wayne Gretzky who said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And so the one technique that works the best is ask. Ask for the appointment, ask for the decision maker, ask for the referral, ask for the sale. Because I've seen a lot of agents come out of appointments that never actually asked to close the deal. You know, they went on the appointment, they did all the things and never asked the seller to sign the paper and left without the signature. And that's a thing that a lot of new agents, they feel uncomfortable. They feel uncomfortable asking. And you have to get over that fear, because there are 3 steps to asking. Ask with confidence and assume you'll get what you want. Next one is shut up. And then be prepared to deal with reflex responses, brush offs, and objections. And again, those come with practice. We have lots of trainings that go over objection handlers and how to deal with things. We did scripting yesterday as a group. And so, you know, when you ask with confidence and assume you'll get what you want, it's a great thing to do. And the shut up part is important, because the quiet can be uncomfortable. But if you sit and wait, you may get what you want. And I've also seen agents talk themselves out of a sale. You know, they start talking again and they talk themselves right out of that close when they had it. So that's why you want to wait and just stay quiet and let them think and let them come back to you. So developing a consistent response to rejection is as important as your initial pitch. So that's the part that be prepared to deal with reflex responses, brush offs, and objections. Objection handlers are very important. Know what you're going to say. Know how you're going to handle it if they say, well, would you be willing to reduce your commission? Or my cousin's an agent, I may go with them. Or, you know, what sets you apart from the Remax agent that came the other day? You know, have answers at the ready, practice them. Because if you didn't practice them and don't know what you're going to say, you go back to the, is it confident? Are you confident in what you're saying? Or did you give a weak response? Telephone prospecting. So again, so many agents shy away from actually picking up the phone. And it is still the most efficient, cost-effective prospecting method. You know, picking up the phone and calling people is still a very good prospecting method. So setting up phone blocks. When you're setting up blocks and tracking your numbers, it's the important part is making sure that you're setting it in a way that you're moving away from all the distractions. If I were to say, you know, if you had an appointment, someone coming into the office for a listing appointment with you, and another agent came by, the listing appointment was at 11 o'clock and it's 10:59, and another agent came by and said, hey, you got a minute to talk about this other deal I'm working? Would you stop and talk to that other agent? Or would you go to your appointment? Raise show of hands. Who would talk to the other agent? John? You're muted, John, so I can't hear you if you're talking. Still muted.
I would have time to talk to the other agent because I would be prepared well in advance.
Even though your client will be there in 1 minute and you would be late to meet your client?
Well, I wouldn't be late to meet my client, but I would have time to talk to somebody because I would be prepared and confident and know what I was going to say.
Okay. Okay. I applaud your confidence in being able to wrap that communication up in 1 minute and be in the other room in that 1 minute's time. So that's the thing. A lot of us will allow that when we're lead generating. We'll allow another agent to come in and take that time and ask questions and things like that when we're lead generating, but we wouldn't allow it when we had an actual appointment. And so setting up your lead generation, you need to set it up as if it were sacred time, as if nothing else interfered. And so, you know, there's a framework to it, you know, making sure you're using the golden hours. You know, you want to keep your revenue generating activities from interfering, your non-revenue generating activities from interfering with your golden hours. Now, I want to take you through an activity. So everyone get a piece of paper, and I want you to write out how much you think you'll earn at the end of 2022 from your commissions net. How much you'll net from your commissions end of 2022. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to share any of this. So this is just for you. So the second number I want you to write is how many weeks a year do you actually work selling? So take out sick time, vacations, things like that. How many weeks do you actually sell every year? And next, I want you to do how many hours a day you're actually available for those sales activities. So are you actually available for all 8 hours or more a day of a work day? Or is it really 5 or 4 or 3? You know, how much time are you really putting into real estate every day? So now I want you to take that hours per day and multiply it by the days per week. That's going to be your selling time. Okay. So now we're going to take the first number, your net commissions, and you're going to divide it by the weeks that you worked. So the number of weeks you said that you were actually on duty. Actually, hang on. Take weeks that you work, divide it by selling time. Take those two numbers first. So weeks worked divided by selling time. So the number of weeks you work divided by those hours per day, days per week, equivalent selling time. And then I want you to take your net commissions and divide it by the number you just came up with from weeks worked versus selling time. So what you just came up with is your worth per hour. So that number is what you are actually worth per hour of your time. So when you think about doing things that take you away from your sales activities, your non-revenue generating activities, and say, I need to go sit at this, inspection, or I need to go drop off these lock boxes or put up these signs, something you could pay someone, $15 an hour, $20 an hour, something you can pay them to do. Now look at the number you just wrote. You're paying yourself that much to go on that appointment. You're paying yourself that much to do that. Well, actually you're losing it. You're not, you're getting rid of that money to yourself because you're not doing the dollar generating activity. So when you're giving up that time to do these lower dollar generating activities, then you're giving up that money. So when we talk about going into this new shifting market, we want to make sure that we're doing things that are really going to propel us forward. And, if you've got that time, is your time better served mowing your lawn or fixing your own plumbing when you can pay a professional to do it? Or is it better served generating the dollars per hour you just came up with? Would your time be better served hitting the phones and prospecting and getting more money, or doing the job that you could pay someone $20 an hour to do, or $50 an hour? Because I'm sure most of you're well over $50 an hour. So they go into how to do voicemail frameworks, identify yourself, say your phone number twice. Most of this as agents, we already know. Give them a reason to call you back. So just like a lot of books in regard to prospecting, we're all agents. We know a lot of this already. In-person prospecting, identify yourself, say why you're there, gather information. This is the thing that a lot of people suffer with too, is being able to put on the sales break, walk up to people and ask questions, hand them your business cards. More times than not, they'll talk to you and give you a chance. And if they don't, you move on. But in order to do the 20 contacts a day, this is important. Being able to start real estate conversations with people you meet randomly. Developing mental toughness. You're going to get hung up on. You're going to get said no to. Everyone who's been prospecting for any length of time has had to deal with people being rude to them, or yelling at them, or cussing at them, or any of those things are all possibilities of things that you'll run into. So mental toughness, you have to have self-confidence. You have to have attention control, being able to stay focused on the conversation, minimizing your negative energy. And we talk about keeping your emotions between the lines. So increasing positive energy, You know, just like we said, if you act enthusiastic, you will be enthusiastic. Maintaining your motivation levels. I was training a guy once, and he basically said he was a new ISA, and he got really upset about what was going on. He said, you know, he hasn't been connecting with people all day. And when we actually looked at his numbers, he really didn't have that many contacts. But it was easy to go into the negativity because he had some bad contacts at the beginning, and it kind of snowballed in his mind. Everything else kind of went downhill from there. And you have to be able to maintain your motivation. And that's why tracking is so important, because he wasn't tracking. He thought he had been on the phone for hours, you know, with people for hours, but really he had only made, you know, he thought he had made several phone calls, but he really only made a few. So, you know, that's where the tracking comes in, to be able to really check back and keep yourself in reality, because your mind will play those tricks. It'll say, oh, it's all bad. But if you look and you can say, no, I've only had 3 calls. You know, it's not all bad. I can keep going. So maintaining your motivation level, your attitude control, and visual and imagery control, you know, just like having a vision board in front of you, having your goals up on a board where you can see them every day, you know, having a picture of your why up in front of you when you're making your phone calls. Because if you have your big why in front of you, then you'll know, you know, this is what I'm doing it for. This is why I can't stop. This is what makes me relentless. So individuals with a positive attitude share 2 common beliefs. They expect to win, and they believe that everything happens for a reason. So we're now at the summit. So when you face your Goliath, when you set your goals, when you face fear, rejection, and adversity, when you're tired, worn out, and have the choice to go home or make one more call, the only question that really matters is, how bad do you want it? And that's where that one more call comes in. How bad do you want to be the superstar? The person who closes the deals that sets you financially free? The person who leaves a legacy for the people that they care about? How bad do you want it? And that's really the ultimate question when it comes to prospecting, because there are a million reasons, over a million, to not do it. But there's really only one that will get you to do it. I had an art professor once tell me that no one wants you to be, and I'm going to change it because he said an artist, but no one wants you to be a real estate agent. Your parents want you to be their kid. Your spouse wants you to be their husband or wife. Your kids want you to be their parent. Your brothers, your sisters, they want you to be their sibling. Your friends want you to be their friend. No one wants you to be a real estate agent except you. So until you take that mantle and really run with it and say, this is who I am, this is what I do, everyone else they're going to love you the same, but they want you to be what you are to them. Only you can want to be what you are to you. And again, that's the competitiveness of being better than you were yesterday, being better than you were this morning. So I want to thank you all for, listening in, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the book. I know I kind of skipped through some things, so if there are some things that you want more clarity on or to talk more about, I'm here. So feel free to shoot away. If anyone's talking, they're on mute. All right. Well, hopefully everyone got something out of this, and I'd love to hear at least one aha, something that you didn't have before, So one aha, and then I'm happy to sign off. Who's got one?
At the end of the day, it all boils down to how bad you really want it.
Yeah.
How bad do you truly want it? You know, or bad do you truly want to be a top agent, or, you know, set things up for your family and really want to go out and get it? So that's what it is. It's kind of like Eric Thomas. How bad do you want to breathe?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So again, thank you all. And I appreciate you sitting through that and, you know, joining me for an afternoon. And everyone have a wonderful and productive day.